Hello everyone. Today I will tell you a story. The story is titled, By in the Evening That Moved Very Slowly and quote. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you appreciate me. You can skip this if you don't and oppose. Like this video. Thank you very much. The story begins as follows. Evenings in our house usually arrived quietly, like a familiar guest who never knocked. The sky outside would slowly turn from pale blue to a soft gray, and then into that gentle shade of orange that only existed for a short moment before disappearing. On that particular evening, everything felt slower than usual. Even the clock on the wall seemed unsure about how fast it should tick. I noticed it first. Was my dog, small, fluffy, with ears that never quite agreed on which direction to point. He had the habit of observing the world as if every little thing mattered. That evening, instead of rushing to his bowl or barking at distant sounds, I lay on the floor near the window, his chin resting on his paws, watching the light fade. The room smelled faintly of dinner. A single lamp was turned on, spreading a warm yellow glow across the floor. I sat on the couch, phone in hand, scrolling mindlessly, while I watched the outside world with deep concentration. Occasionally, his tail tapped the floor once or twice, not in excitement, but in quiet acknowledgement of time passing. Normally, I would demand attention, nudge my leg, bring me his favorite toy, or stare at me until I felt guilty enough to pet him. But not tonight. Tonight, he seemed content just being there. I glanced at him and smiled. "You're unusually calm," I said. I lifted his head slightly, as if he understood every word, then slowly stood up and walked toward me. He didn't jump. He didn't bark. He simply sat beside my feet and leaned gently against my leg. His warmth felt grounding, like an anchor pulling me out of my rushing thoughts. The evening stretched. No urgent messages. No loud noises. Just the hum of the refrigerator, the soft glow of the lamp, and by breathing slowly beside me. For the first time in days, I wasn't thinking about what came next. I was simply there, sharing a moment with a dog who had mastered the art of doing nothing beautifully. As the evening deepened, Bai and I slipped into our unspoken routine. I stood up to refill my glass of water, and Bai followed, his paws making soft sounds against the floor. When I stopped, he stopped. When I turned, he turned. It was as if he believed that my movement gave meaning to his own. In the kitchen, I leaned against the counter while Bai sat patiently, eyes fixed on me. Not begging, just watching. His expression was gentle, curious, full of trust. I reached down and scratched behind his ears, and his eyes slowly closed. His tail moved just once, like a quiet thank you. We returned to the living room and sat on the floor together. I stretched my legs out, and Bai immediately curled up beside them, placing his head on my ankle. The TV was on, but neither of us paid much attention. The sounds blended into the background, becoming part of the evening's soft rhythm. Time felt different. Minutes didn't rush forward anymore. They expanded, filled with small details. The way Bai's chest rose and fell, the faint sound of cars outside, the way shadows moved slowly across the wall. At one point, Bai stood up and walked to his water bowl, took a few careful sips, then returned to me. He circled twice before settling down again, this time closer. I could feel his fur brush against my skin. It was a simple gesture, but it carried a quiet message. I'm here. You're not alone. I realized how rarely I allowed myself to experience moments like this. Moments without goals, without productivity, without pressure. I didn't care if the evening was useful. To him, it was already perfect. Outside, night fully arrived. The sky turned dark, and the house felt smaller, safer. I sighed softly in his sleep, completely relaxed. Watching him, I felt my own breathing slow down, syncing with his. That slow evening wasn't empty. It was full of presence, of warmth, of connection that didn't need words. That evening with Bai stayed with me long after the lights were turned off. In a world where everything moves fast, messages, expectations, schedules, Bai reminded me that slowing down is not a waste of time. It is a choice, a meaningful one. Animals live entirely in the present. They don't replay the past in their minds or worry about tomorrow's problems. Bai didn't need the evening to be exciting or productive. He needed it to be shared. Through his quiet companionship, He taught me that being present is often the greatest gift we can give to ourselves and to those who depend on us. In today's life, many people feel lonely even when surrounded by others. Building a relationship with an animal can gently heal that loneliness. It teaches responsibility, empathy, and patience. When we care for animals, we learn to listen without words, to respect different rhythms of life, and to understand love without conditions. From Bai, we can learn to pause, to notice small moments, and to value connection over speed. Try spending an evening without rushing. Sit with your pet, observe their calm, feel their trust. Let that stillness remind you that kindness, presence, and care are what truly make life meaningful for both humans and animals.